how has betting the draft changed over the last few years from when you were setting the lines and reading all the rumors and trying to stay ahead of the market, which seems like an impossible task.
Seriously.
Especially 24 hours to go until the draft. Like, how has betting this event changed?
So I think the biggest thing is that like these numbers right now that we're looking at, like they don't represent truth. Like it doesn't, just because Drake May is like minus 290 to go number 3 overall, that doesn't mean he's going 3 overall. And the biggest thing is that like just limits for these markets have just progressively gone down. Like a couple of years ago, if you wanted to bet, I'm going to bet to win $30,000 on Trayvon Walker going 1, you could do that. Now, if you want to bet on JJ McCarthy to go 3 overall, you get to win like $500 or something. So just books have gotten a bit more conservative on that front, and that means that it's just harder to price these markets, and they move off of air. Like if someone is trying to have $30,000 on Trayvon Walker going 1, he's probably going 1 because someone knows something. And now there's just not as much money in the pool, so not as much liquidity to get to accurate prices. So the prices move really aggressively. Like Jaden Daniels a couple days ago went back into minus 115 to go second. It's like, what is that? Is someone just playing pot chicken with the market so they can get a better price on Daniels? So I just wouldn't read too much into this. And what these markets move off ultimately, like it's information. Like it's people hearing stuff around the league and then betting off it. It's not like you're running an algorithm and being like, this team's tendencies is this. It's just purely like, what are you hearing from people? So,
it feels like, I swear, I mean, I'm not trying to pat my own back, right? I swear, sometimes I feel like I make statements and I look at the market, right? The other day I was saying, I was told, as I was on the show for PFT, right, I was talking about Washington at 2. I had somebody in the know go, if it's not Jaden Daniels, it won't be Drake May at 2, right? I said that, and later that day that went on. I was like, man, did they just listen to people and certain people, and they think, oh, he might know, this knows, and that's what it goes off of? I mean, it seems like that to a degree. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but there's just been instances I've seen it across.
When you were setting the line, were you listening to what Chris Simms said?
Yeah, I mean, all insiders, like everything that comes out, like if Daniel Jeremiah or someone does a mock draft and he has someone going like in a surprising spot, the market will move off of that. Like that's just how it works. And that's the thing is, like with your typical NFL game markets, like say the Chiefs were favored by 2 points over the Bills, and Chris told me like, no, the Bills should be 7-point favorites. I'd be like, well, you're wrong, because there is so much money in this market that we get to truth and we get to a reliable number. But if you tell me that like Drake May should not be minus 290 to go 3rd overall, I'd say, well, you're probably right, because you know more about me than this, because you're more plugged into the league. So it really is just an information game.
Yeah, information, public perception. And then I guess so you're telling me too is that the sports books are protecting themselves a little bit more now because of the inside information, I guess, right?
Yep, exactly. So it's just lower limits, so the prices, they move aggressively. Like this stuff's going to bounce around all over the place. A day before the draft last year, Tyree Wilson was the favorite to be the first defensive player drafted.
Right.
And then it was Will Anderson, and it seemed like it wasn't even close.
Right.
So, I mean, it just moves all over the place.
Yeah. So last week, and Pete's put this in here, Bill Belichick, while on the Pat McAfee show, said that all draft rumors are agent-driven until the week of the draft. That's when teams finally begin to leak info themselves. Is that something that you were aware of? Does it even matter? Does something like that matter where this information is coming? I mean, ultimately, you don't know sometimes, and so you just have to react to the news that when it comes out there.
Yeah, I think the thing with that is, like, say, if Minnesota, if they want to draft Michael Penix, for example, isn't it in their interest to leak publicly that they don't want to draft Michael Penix? Like, I heard some crazy things about the Giants and Kayvon Thibodeau that year, that they really didn't like him, and then they ended up taking him. So that stuff, unless you're hearing directly from a source that you really trust, that stuff, like, you know, things that get floated on podcasts by people who aren't necessarily in the know, like, sifting through that stuff is really difficult. Like, you really need to have a reliable source.
You got to take it with a grain of salt, definitely. And I think more times than not, it goes on with what you're saying, and then every now and then it's put out there because they want to inform and get the public ready for the guy and garner the excitement, right? That's what I feel like's happening with pick number 4, right? With the Cardinals and Marvin Harrison Jr., right? And I know we're going to talk about that anyways here in a minute, but it just kind of works seamlessly with that right there too. That feels like you read things out in Arizona and what they're doing. The team is almost framing it. Like, he's Larry Fitzgerald Jr. That's who we're drafting here, right? That to me is like the other side of the story. Yep. More times than not, it goes on what you're saying, but every now and then they try to set expectations and get people excited for this awesome guy we're going to have. So jump on now. Right.
And what I will say is that the Giants, maybe were just telling you they didn't like Kayvon Thibodeau back then, but now they probably don't. Actually. So now, I think now it's like that is a true statement.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
that actually might be more close to the truth.
I think the other thing too is that sometimes things get leaked, and it's clearly in the interest of the player that it gets leaked. Like there was a lot of JJ McCarthy going to Buzz a couple of weeks ago. It's like, who? If I was to put money on who was leaking that, probably JJ's agent. Right? It's a drama with you. Oh, JJ McCarthy. You guys thought he was going 10 or 11? Well, it looks like he might be going 2.
Had one conversation with the Commanders. The Commanders are like, hey, we're having some problems with Jaden Daniels. The agent calls some few people. Is like, hey, we got a chance to go number 2. Right? And it all takes off from there. Yo, homies, what's up? I know it's the off season, but it's never the off season on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Me and Ahmed Fareed are going to be here for it all. We got free agency. We're going to break it all down. The draft, the rankings of positions. Of course, we're going to unpack it all. Hit subscribe, get to my free agency reactions, 2024 draft rankings, and more. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.